Like I said, Kenny Parcell, who is our 2023 National Association of Realtors President. He comes from us from Utah, and we're really excited to have him here today. Kenny told me about 2 years ago that he was making sure coming to, I don't know what you're saying, Dawn. Okay. There's no come to West Virginia for our installation banquet. So here we are, two years later. There's lots of, as those know that are on the national level, this is strict conference season. So he has been all over the place. He was just internationally. So we're really super excited that he did make time to come to West Virginia and then spend this much time with us. So I didn't want to take a lot of time introducing him because he wanted to do more of a question and answer session with everyone. So I'm gonna just go ahead and turn it over to Kenny.
Well, good morning. Thank you for being here. So many great people in the room. I could, and I'll probably embarrass them tonight at the installation, but I was a classmate of Paula Miller in Leadership Academy, at NAR's Leadership Academy, and the only reason I even graduated is because I cheated on Paula. And so I started in this business when in college, and after 26 years, I've lost my hair and gone downhill, but this is what it's kind of done to me, but it is truly a privilege to be here. I could talk NAR, I could talk all kinds of lawsuits, what's going on, but that's probably not what you want to hear anyway. I'm happy to spend 30 minutes and just do question and answer, ask Kenny anything, and I will field any question you have if you want to go that route, or I can share stories. I was just in Ukraine 2 weeks ago, which was a life-changing experience. I can give you the rundown on my experience from there, but I did see a question in the back, so go ahead.
Why are you in real estate?
Why am I in real estate? Great question. So, how I got into the business. I come from an uneducated home. My parents never graduated from high school. I served as a 2-year church mission for my church, came back, I was on football scholarship at Brigham Young University, and after the first year, got married. And so why I'm so passionate about the difference between a realtor and a licensee is for this reason. We got referred to a licensee. We didn't know anything about real estate, but I wanted to buy a house. I had 3 years left on my scholarship. I thought, why rent? Might as well buy something, right? The little 21-year-old investor over there, you know what I'm talking about. And so this is how it went. The licensee told me, Kenny, you have great people skills. Talk your way into anything you want to see and let me know what you want to buy. Not knowing anything different, that's what we did. We only qualified for 6 homes in the county. Came back, called her and said, look, we found this house on 100 South in Orem. We want to make an offer. She said, great. Now for you younger people, you don't realize this, but this is before electronic signatures and electronic forms. So she had it all written up, full price. I said, hey, I was reading about sellers paid closing costs. Can we ask the seller to pay the closing costs? And she goes, oh, well, if we do that, then I have to rewrite the contract. I go, well, can we? And she's like, fine. And so she gave me the half of the paperwork and says, you fill out half, I'll fill out the other half. And so I'm checking the boxes, not knowing what I was doing. Lo and behold, made the offer, got the offer accepted. Feeling pretty good about ourselves. No home warranty, no home inspection, no seller's disclosures. We didn't know what to ask for because this is our first house. 30 days later, we closed, went on our honeymoon, and got married. Came back after our honeymoon. This is on a Saturday. For you football fans, 2-a-days start on Monday. Only to find out the good white refrigerator was replaced by the lime green one that didn't work. Garage door taken, air conditioner taken, the kitchen cabinets taken. And so when we called her and said, hey, look, we have a problem. And she goes, no, I don't have a problem, you have a problem. I didn't make very much because you didn't qualify for very much, you're on your own. And so that was my experience with real estate, and that's a long story. So played football for 2 more years. I got mono, that's what you call when you take a medical. They pay your schooling, but you no longer have to play. And I saw a classified ad that said, don't be a licensee, be a realtor. There's a difference. And I called them. And they explained the difference between a licensee and a realtor. And lo and behold, I took my real estate classes while I was still going to school, and got my license, became a realtor, and didn't plan on practicing real estate. I'm still a college kid, right? I wrote about my experience in a family science class, 1,800 students, turned my paper in. That night my professor calls me up and she goes, Kenny, I never read papers. I have 1,800 students, but my TA's sick. I stumbled across your paper. by the way, I'm taking a job transfer to Ball State. I would like to interview you to sell my house. So now if you can imagine, I'm this college kid going in to interview to list my current professor's house, and lo and behold, she gave me a shot she shouldn't have. And this is, I know, is against the code of ethics, Kim, I'm so sorry, and Natalie. But we were negotiating in her big auditorium, and she goes, Kenny, I really need that extra $5,000. Can you get it? And I looked her dead in the eye and I said, Dr. Smith, I really need that extra credit for an A. If I get you that extra $5,000. And she looked at me and goes, no, you did not. And I just kind of sat there and, you know, the power of the pause. And she goes, go get me the $5,000, I'll get you your A. And I go, let's shake on it. And so we shook hands and I took off and came back about 35 minutes later and had her the extra $5,000, probably the only A I ever had in college. And she referred me to two professors who referred me to two professors. My goal to go to college was never to go to the NFL or to do any of those things. It was to graduate and get out of poverty. I wanted to be the first Parcell to ever be a college graduate, and so I did. And so I had 35 job offers as a college kid coming out of school, and by this time I had a pretty good book of business, and thus that's why I'm so passionate. That was about 3,200 homes ago. So that's why I'm so passionate about the industry and about being a realtor. So anyway, thank you. Not a really long question, I apologize. Somebody else, fire something at me. Yeah?
What programs or anticipation that NAR will next year now help the realtors that were affected by Ian in Florida?
Great question about effective of the hurricane. So if I could give you my travel schedule, 2 weeks ago I was in Ukraine in an active war zone. And last week, I was in Sarasota, Florida with a paper on my door, my hotel room, that says you must evacuate by tomorrow at noon because of Ian. And so, I mean, I've been in the war zone, I've been in the hurricane. I don't know what's going to happen in West Virginia tonight, but I'm ready. The Realtor Relief, my favorite charity of all charities, the Realtor Relief Foundation. The reason why is because 100% of the money, there's no administration costs, go to those victims. And I know you all have requested in West Virginia, but before, it's a short little application process, and so we are fully mobilized with money. Florida has the Realtor, their own little relief program, but I have the fun thing about serving within the National Association of Realtors, you have a friend in every city, and I truly have friends that no longer have a home. Their home is somewhere in the ocean and has been swept away. It is heartbreaking to see, and so I would say go to Realtor Relief if you really want to know where to spend money. Spend it to Realtor Relief, because 100% of those proceeds go to those hurricane victims or fire victims or earthquake or floods, whatever it is. That's my #1 charity of all charities. So, yeah. What else? Yeah.
You wrote a book called Heart of a Hero. Is that a personal story?
That is not a personal story. So I always had a dream to write a children's book, so I did. I wrote about a 3-legged dog. I just made it up. It's about a little girl who saved her money to buy a dog, and their parents finally said yes. They went to go to look at a litter of 6 puppies, and they were all $200. And then there was one with 3 legs. And they said, how much is this one? They said, no, it's free, but you don't want this dog. And the girl goes, no, I'm going to pay you the same amount of money. Just because it's missing a leg doesn't mean it's any less of a dog. And so that's the story, is not one that is on the outside, it's what the inside counts. So anyway, it's just a fun little children's book. So keep in mind, I had to negotiate to get an A in college. So, it's probably not the most well-written book, but anyway, it's kind of fun. Yeah.
Could you give a brief update on the lawsuit?
Brief update on the lawsuit. There's 4 lawsuits going on right now. There's 2 class action lawsuits, one in Missouri, one in Illinois, and that basically just saying, one, the sellers were misinformed on paying commission. The other one is saying the buyers overpaid on the commission, and it's a stupid lawsuit, but it's a class action lawsuit. And so if you live in Illinois or Missouri, you're starting to see all those ads, if you've been harmed by the real estate, come get a settlement. That's a big one. February 21st is when we go to court for Missouri, and that's about all we know on those. There's the clear cooperation lawsuit that not much to update on that. The Department of Justice update is we had a settlement with the Department of Justice with those people. You know, it's giving more people access to your lockbox. You got a disclosure commission, a few things. Had it all worked out, and the first time ever in the Department of Justice, they rescinded their offer, and so we are back to court with the Department of Justice. And so the big thing is competition.realtor. That's where I'd tell you to go, competition.realtor, get up to date on the facts. The second thing I'm going to ask you all is make sure you're using buyer's agency. Make sure you're telling people that your service as a buyer's agent is not free, because it is not free. You are getting compensated. And so make sure you're disclosing to your clients how you get paid. And the next thing is just be worthy of what you charge. It's a novel idea. Nobody wants to pay for something they don't get. And so everybody's watching you. And so the sooner you figure it out, the sooner you need to realize you need to make sure you're doing a better job representing your clients. So that's kind of the four things in a nutshell. Just competition.realtor is where I'd send you on that. What else? Yeah.
Tell us about your experience in Ukraine.
Experience about Ukraine. Thank you. So I had to go to Bucharest, Romania for an Eastern European Summit conference. And from there, I've been really fascinated with the war in Ukraine. I read on it about an hour a night. And so then you can imagine what I would think when I'm like, hey, I think I'm going to go try to head to Ukraine. And they're like, well, no, it's an active war zone, no insurance, no hostage insurance. But anyway, it all worked out. I spent 5 days in Ukraine, and I don't know how else to without crying of just some of the experiences. I was in Lviv, Kyiv. I went to a military hospital where I saw people being hospitalized, soldiers in the most horrid, you wouldn't let your dog be in this situation, and they were just fighting to stay alive. I went to the train station to board the train to get to Kyiv, and a little elderly lady comes off of a wheelchair off the train. And now when you leave, when all these refugees are coming in, all they can bring is their backpack. So if you can imagine taking all of your belongings in your house and put them in your backpack. The reason why it's a backpack is because there's so many people in the train, that's all they'll let you bring. And so this little old lady gets off the train, she's in a wheelchair. These train stations are not handicap accessible. They're not ADA. There's no wheelchair ramp, no escalator. And so if you can imagine, 2 a.m, you're in a wheelchair, you come, you get dropped off at this train station, and you stay there and wait in the elements until you find 2 people strong enough to lift the wheelchair down. And I was lucky enough to help a few wheelchair people before I had to board the train. I took one little lady into the check-in spot, and they gave her a little, asked her if she was hungry, and they gave her a little jam sandwich, a little half cut of a piece of bread with jam on it. And I've never seen anybody devour a piece of bread in that kind of a setting. She was so hungry. And I don't know when's the last time she'd eaten. I went to real estate, met with real estate people, and they showed me their offices and what they had of an office. And then they showed me pictures of what their house was like and their car was like before it was bombed out. I saw bridges where, as people were running from the soldiers, the Russian troops coming in, that somebody had to make the decision to bomb the bridge, self-detonated the bridge to protect the city. And there's crosses all along there. And there's hundreds of vehicles that are shot, that people had target practice, and the civilians were trying to flee, and bloody car seats. It was the most life-changing experience of just being grateful for what we all have, that we have something to sell, that we have private property rights. I saw a refugee camp of 8 elderly women, all from across Ukraine, stuck in a 12-by-14 room, and that was their new home. They didn't know each other before. The one lady looked at me and said, there's a lot worse things, worse than dying, and I didn't know how to respond, and I just hugged her, and she said, I witnessed my son get tortured in my living room, and as he was forced to look as my 14-year-old granddaughter was sexually abused over and over. And she goes, I don't know. I know my son died. I don't know what happened to my granddaughter or my daughter-in-law. And so, I mean, it's heavy, and but it was the most life-changing experience I've ever had. So I am extremely grateful just to be in the country we have, because it could be much worse. And I could share story similar to what I just shared. So sorry, Katrina, to make you cry. So yeah.
So what's your focus for your year as president of NAR?
My focus for the year, the theme is riding with the brand, and the why I love that is in the Old West. You know, you always, who's watched Yellowstone in here? I mean, it's kind of a popular series. You know, you ride for the brand, you ride for the brand of Yellowstone. It's different. It's riding with the brand. Why? Because the brand is you and the brand is us, and everybody in this room brings something to the brand. If you like it or you don't, you're either bringing something good or you're something bad, but you're bringing something to the brand. And the big thing is to remember, for the West Virginia Realtors, you're smaller, your state is smaller in size. You know, if you think of Florida Realtors is 265,000 members, right? You all are just over 3, if I'm not mistaken. The big thing that I want you to remember is you pay the same dues as everyone else. And sometimes people start thinking, you know, we're bigger states and we mean something more. I pay the same dues as you, you pay the same dues as I. And so when you're riding with the brand, we all bring something to the brand. So for me, I'm just trying to give my very best to you all because you're worth it. I love the brand. I love what real estate and what realtor means to me. And so for me, I'm just gonna look to give you all that I have, and hopefully it's enough. So, questions? Yeah.
I'm starting to think about joining committees. There's so many to choose from, it's overwhelming. So what's that process? How are you doing?
So I always say we're not governed by the majority, we're governed by the majority that participates. And I think that goes into politics, right? You have to get out and vote. But I also think that applies to NAR. NAR is 1.6 million. It's a political machine. You need to be involved. The West Virginia Realtors need to be involved. Why? Because you need to have a seat at the table making decisions that affect your membership within our association. So you can't wait for somebody in Florida or California to make those decisions for you. You all need to apply where you have passion. Don't go play somewhere where you have no passion. Why? Because you're probably not going to do that great of a job. But if you have, you know, I'm thinking Mark Mansour, his passion is professionalism, pro standards. That's where he needs to serve. Why? Is because he's the expert in the craft. You put me in pro standards, I'm going to go to sleep and be looking out the window because I'll get bored. That's probably not my passion. That's probably where I shouldn't play. The good thing is you can't be all things to all people. Specialize in where you serve, where you have a passion, and then get involved. So I would strongly encourage you, we need you all to find a role somewhere within the National Association of Realtors. Yeah. How are we doing on time?
We have about
Yeah.
10 more minutes.
10 more minutes.
Yeah.
And then you can boot me off the stage.
What's your prediction for the next 6 months in real estate?
Prediction on the next 6 months in real estate. I mean, I've been doing this 27 years. It's been extremely good to me. The .com, the Y2Ks, the 2008 to 2012 crash of the market. Interest rates, we've never seen this type of inflation. We've never seen this type of high interest rate increase. It's not that rates are high, it's just prices are so much higher and the affordability factor, right? It's just a lot to absorb. The market's changed. All across the country, the market's changed. And so Dr. Yoon thinks, by the end of the year, 6.5. I think, interest rates probably accurate. I think sellers that were trying to sell at this and you could price higher because the market was doing that, I don't think it's doing that anymore. I think you got to be more realistic. If the person that wanted to retire next year can't retire because their 401k is not worth what it once was. So I always think it's just better to be better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than you were today. So I think always being the expert in your craft and what's going on to the market to provide more value to your customer, whatever your customer is, if that's ranch, if that's property management. But definitely the market is shifting and it might continue to shift, so it's being ahead of the game for your sellers of what's going on in that market. So, a couple more questions and I'm gonna get you out of here. Anybody? Ask me anything.
Well, I have another. So we're going to NAR for the conference in November, so the branding that you just talked about, is there something special you'd like for us to do while we're coming into that for you?
Oh, I think if you're coming to the installation gala, you will get a Riding with the Brand belt and a few little miscellaneous gifts as your table gift. I think come and get engaged. We do have a plan we're going to try to hit all 50 states on kind of a tour, and we're going to bring NAR to your membership. So whatever that looks like when we come to West Virginia, we'd love some support as we come through town. Now if we're coming through town, we're going to also be driving through another town, and so we're going to be trying to hit local boards of the way, just so the average member on the street understands what NAR brings to them and what we're doing. There's so many benefits that we bring to the average member, they have no idea. And so just letting them know that we do care, we are normal, and we don't just live in Chicago. We're practicing realtors that are just trying to give our very best, just like you all. So, a couple more? Yeah.
Of the benefits that we get with NAR, what are the ones that you think are most important that we probably aren't aware of?
The ones that you're not aware of. I'll tell you this, when I was in Ukraine, I met with the highest ranking government officials except for their president. I met with their number 2, their number 4, and their number 5. And the reason why they wanted to meet with me, because they knew I was in town, it had nothing to do with Kenny Parcell. It all had to do with the National Association of Realtors, 1.6 million, and we have the ear of every member of Congress. That's why they wanted to meet with me. And I think our biggest thing is we're an advocacy organization. 51% of our money last year federally went to Democrats, 49% went to Republicans, and that can flip-flop every year. We are the largest bipartisan PAC. We have friends on both sides of the aisle. Why? Because we support private property rights. And so I think advocacy, I think we do some great things with them. Realtor benefit, I mean, if you went around the room, everybody would say something different. But we provide so much. We have so many placemaking grants for the cities and communities. If you want to go negotiate a $500 discount on your Dodge Chrysler, you get your best price and then say, oh, by the way, I'm a realtor, and they'll say $500 off. I mean, that pays a lot of years of dues. I mean, there's just so many things that most people don't know. So we're going to have a scan the QR code with all those benefits, and so when we come through your town, you can scan the code and it'll just lay it out, and you can just kind of sort through and see what matters to you. 2 more and then I'm off the stage. I'll be here all day though, and I'll answer any other questions. So, yeah.
Kenny, have you ever been to West Virginia before this weekend?
I was in the Greenbrier several years ago. North Carolina Realtors had a conference, and I flew into Bristol, Tennessee, rented a Harley, and then cruised over to the Greenbrier, and then they wouldn't let me park the Harley there because it was too noisy. So,
I know.
but it was pretty cool.
Important question then. Do you see anything different with West Virginia realtors than realtors that you visit throughout the nation?
No, the reason why I love the realtor family, and I truly mean this, you all are the very best of people. I don't know of more people that donate more time to their community, to PTA, to Girl Scouts, to Little League Baseball. Nobody serves like the realtor. Why? Because you all understand community. You all are the very best. Like, I'm just honored to be around you. I think if you go all across the country, I have a good friend that I was just in Sarasota, Florida. What he's doing at 4 a.m. every day is he is cooking for the volunteers that are trying to get power on in their community. They don't have anything to sell because everything's destroyed. And so all they're doing is serving those volunteers that are coming to help them. And so that's what's so special about what we do. You all are the most serving people across the country. And it doesn't matter if you're a member of a 25-member board or if you're a member of a 54,000 member board in Miami. Everybody just tries to give back and lift where they stand, which is pretty special. So, well, last question, then I'm going to turn it back over to Tony. Anything? I think you have a great panels today. Kim's as talented as you can get. Natalie, these are all friends that I've learned from for the years. I'm here all day. I'm excited that Tony asked me to be here. It's like a high school dance. You always go who asked you first. And so as people started asking after, and I'm like, no, I'm going to West Virginia. And people would say, well, yeah, but they're a small state and it doesn't matter. I think you all pay the same dues. I am extremely grateful to be here. If there's anything I could do, or if there's something you have questions on NAR, I hope you know that we're not untouchable, that you can come and ask us anything, and we're just trying to make a living like everybody in this room. And so with that, I love the quote, the best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. Why? Because it brings shade, shelter, and comfort. But you never think about who planted it 25 years ago. I think the second best time is to plant one today. I challenge you all to do something, be better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than you were today. I try to do 3 things every day. I've done this since high school. I try to do something hard that makes my life uncomfortable. Because why? You got to get used to doing hard things. If you're only doing easy things, your life will become hard. But if you do hard things, your life will become easy. So I challenge you to always try to look for something to do something hard. Number 2, this business will burn you out, so you need to be making sure you do something that's fun, that brings a smile on your face. So every day I want you, before you go home or before you go to sleep, make sure you did something fun that brought joy to your life. Number 3, you need to be doing something for somebody else every day. You got to look for ways to serve others. And there's so many opportunities to be out there watching somebody come, an elderly couple come from Costco with a bunch of water. It's something that you can follow them and help load their watering for them. It might be something simple, but it means something to them. My kids just know that when we're driving down the road and you see somebody doing something, we're just gonna stop. Why? Because it's hard. You might help somebody lay some sod, which is hard, it's physical. And then all of a sudden it becomes fun because you're helping somebody and you hear a story, and then you did something for someone else. So sometimes you can do all 3 all in one hit. So with that, thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to Tony. I am extremely excited to be here. I'll be here all day, leave tomorrow morning. So if there's something I could do, let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Kenny. So we're just going to go ahead and immediately start into our panel discussions. And we did have a little bit of a change to the schedule. So our moderator this morning is going to be Mark Mansour, who is getting some water at the moment. So if we want to go ahead and have the first 3 panelists, and honestly, I think it's Natalie Davis, but I'll turn it over to Mark here in a minute.